have such a weird obsession with Australian animal poo? Poop, poop, poopity, poop. Poop, poop, poopity, poop. Hello my science friends. Welcome back to my channel and my weird obsession with poo. I should call it Shelium the Poo Show. Poop, poop, poopity, poop. Oh yes, my audio is working again, so you can hear me talking to myself now. Anyway, today we're talking about a very serious topic, climate change, one of the worst but cute offenders, cows, and how baby kangaroos could save us all a great deal of trouble. But before we start, you could help this channel grow by leaving a like and subscribe and click the bell button to get notified whenever a new video drops. Did I really just ask for this? Well, in for the penny, in for the pound. And stop talking to yourself. When you hear the word climate change and think about what is contributing to the current climate crisis, probably a lot of things like cars and traffic with huge pollution clouds, private planes of billionaires, or oil refineries and coal mines come to mind. But what about a huge field of googly-eyed, adorable-looking cows? Don't get me wrong, I love cows. They're awesome. They're so incredible, they can change the weather. But how do they do that? Let's have a closer look at cows and, in particular, their digestive system. Cows have a pretty convenient 4-part stomach that helps them digest and get nutrients out of grass. And unfortunately, this stomach is the problem for our climate. When cows eat hay, it ends up in their first stomach called rumen. There, microbes start fermenting the fibers in hay and prepare them for digestion in the other stomach parts. The problem is that fermentation releases a bunch of hydrogen and carbon dioxide gas, which other microbes can turn into methane, CH4. And the cow breathes and farts this out. A lot. Now, if you get a lot of cows together on a green field, they burp and fart out a huge amount of methane. And methane is an even bigger contributor to global warming, trapping more heat than carbon dioxide. In fact, if all the cows in the world would count as a country, that nation would be the biggest contributor to climate crisis. Obviously, we need to find options to reduce this. One way would be to consume less meat and dairy, so you could become vegan like me and live on a plant-based diet. Note to self, I should make a video about this in the future. Anyway, consuming less meat and dairy from cows would mean that there are simply less cows needed and farmed globally. However, and I know this, it is highly unlikely that everyone suddenly becomes vegan. So we have to find another way. And scientists so far found a pretty convenient alternative by changing what the cows eat. One promising option, which was seriously considered for a long time, was seaweed. Even though the exact mechanism of how this works isn't completely clear, it seems that some components in certain types of seaweed, like Asparagopsis armata, can interfere with one of the catalysts involved in methane production. This study from 2019 shows how effective this can be, with feeding cows a diet with 1% of seaweed reducing the amount of methane in their breath, tested by cow breathalyzers by about 43%. But they did find more hydrogen and carbon dioxide in their breath, which is not surprising if you remember from earlier that those are the gases that microbes usually convert to methane in the rumen. Okay, so why is it then that we are now not substituting every cow's meal with seaweed? That would totally help at least slowing global warming. Well, there are some logistical problems to this approach. With more than 1 billion cows on this planet, where would you get all that seaweed from? And how would you make sure that they are actually eating that when they are just grazing out in the fields unsupervised? So the food route doesn't really work. Instead, we could just go straight to the source of the evil and change the cow's gut microbiome. If things like genetically modified cows now come to your mind, that would be an option, but there are much easier and cheaper ways to do it. Scientists study a lot of different ways, like breeding specific cows with a changed gut microbiome. This, however, would take a very long time. Or giving them a specific probiotic cocktail straight after birth, which could change their microbiome. But that would also cost quite a bit and wouldn't be so lucrative for the cattle farming industry, so there is little incentive to actually go down that path. But just a few months ago, researchers published a study that could come to the rescue. A group of scientists from the US found that using homoacetogenic bacteria for bioaugmentation, so adapting the gut microbiome by adding microorganisms for enhanced contaminant degradation, in this case methane, can significantly reduce methane production. So what do? They simulated a cow rumen microbiome environment and added acetogenic bacteria to it to try and outcompete and decrease methane production in favor of producing acetic acid instead, which, in comparison to seaweed, would not harm the cow because it wouldn't considerably decrease the pH in the cow's rumen in comparison to what seaweed would do to it. And where did they get those acetogenic bacteria from? They used a stable consortium from baby kangaroo feces. Yes, that's right, Joey poo! And indeed, this worked, outcompeting methane production for up to 10 days. All this was tested in a laboratory setup, simulating cow rumen fermentation, and obviously needs a lot more research. But personally, I am all for recycling baby kangaroo poo to battle climate change. What do you think are the best ways to battle climate crisis? Are you actively implementing changes in your daily lifestyle? Let me know your climate change battle strategies and cow curiosities in the comments below, and I'll see you back in my next video. Until then, as always, stay sciencey.